guys, welcome to Cold Film and Review, the podcast where we discuss the films you love, but no one else gets, and we see if they still hold up. Tonight,
Mike brought a comb.
and our wife is cheating on us with a tentacle monster, because we're talking about possession. So let's start the show. Hey guys, thanks for joining the cult. We really appreciate it. Do us a favor, head over to iTunes, leave us a review. We will give you a shout out at the end of the show. We got one to do.
Really?
Yeah.
Woo. Shout out.
So make sure you stay tuned for that. And then head over to Cult.
Fucking woo over here.
I'm wooing. I was gonna woo, and then you came in. I don't want to woo too loud, so I wooed a little quieter.
You wooed low.
Yeah, I went
You
low.
wooed low, and I shout high.
Exactly, I tried.
There you go. It's called harmonizing, guys.
Then head over to cultfilmandreview.com. Put in your request for films for us to review. Also, check out some videos there. Whatever else, dude. Just buy a t-shirt.
It's great sales.
Yeah. Oh, what do we say?
Cody's always closing.
Always closing.
Cody's always closed.
Always
That's a
closing.
shirt right
So
there.
funny.
Cody's always closed.
So buy a shirt because you need to wear something.
Hey guys, I took a promotional photo. You may have seen it on our social media of me wearing said shirts. Okay.
He'll
No,
also
no.
be signing headshots.
By the time they go to the website, we'll have a new shirt that says Cody's always closing.
Which also reminds me, if you're coming out to Film Bar on July 5th, I will have those photos there signed for you to get by me.
There's no
Like,
magic.
No magic.
No
So
magic.
on July 5th, if you would like to get that printed out picture of me signed by me, you better head out to
You really committing
Film
to
Bar.
this?
Well, are you serious?
No!
Jesus.
Who's going to want that?
Because you took this joke.
I'm running
ready
with
to
it.
die
I
on
ran
that
with
mountain.
it.
It's a fucking commit, man.
Yeah.
Fucking yes and, everyone. Yes and. We talk about it all the time.
I just don't want to get people's hopes up who show up for
You know
your
what?
signed photo.
You know what? If one person shows up for that goddamn signed photo, I will fucking print one out, sign it, and mail it to
Yeah,
them.
you will.
Okay?
I think Film Bar has like a laser jet
Cool.
in the back.
Yeah.
You can get them a black and white.
Fuck yeah.
If you're that desperate for this signature, you got it. So join us on July 5th for Hard Ticket to Hawaii. They can get tickets where, Chris?
TheFilmBarPHX.com.
That is correct. As always, I am joined by Kyle Smith,
Hey, how's it going?
Chris Moback,
Hey, what's up?
and Michael Celestio.
Hello, everybody.
Today, we are talking about Possession. It was directed by a name that I'm not even going to attempt.
Andre
Andre?
Zalowski.
Andres?
Andre Velasky.
I would have got Andres.
Velasque. Wait, I thought
Velasque?
the W was a V.
Came out in 1981. Don't know the budget on this, but it made 1.1 million in the box office and currently sits at 85% on the Rotten Tomatoes.
Tomatoes.
This was a fan's pick.
Mm-hmm. This came to us from Drew Abbott. And Drew had to say, Possession is a bizarre, pseudo-Lovecraftian movie that unfolds within a somewhat grounded drama about a failing marriage. Contains some what-the-fuck memorable cult film moments, great, intense performances. The movie leaves a lot open to discussion at the end. Overall, it should make some interesting discussions. The filmmakers were not fucking around when they made this movie. Definitely not a casual movie to play in the background at your Halloween party. It's better than Ghost of Mars and possibly even Congo. Fucking
wow.
Gauntlet
Does
Throne.
this
Wow.
person know us?
I'm sorry, who is this?
He probably listens to the show.
Yeah. Okay.
Who is this? Who
It
is
was a
this?
fan pick, so I imagine
No,
they
I
listen.
know. It's just
sorry,
weird because Chris
Drew
actually
Abbott.
literally.
Drew,
does
who the
that.
fuck do you think you are? Is what I want to know. You gonna throw that gauntlet down?
He threw it down hard.
Touche, sir. Hold on to your fucking knickers, because this one's gonna get this is gonna get you real riled.
Get ugly.
It's gonna get real riled up in here.
All right.
So just pay attention to Cody tonight, I guess.
So, has anyone before the fans suggested it seen this film, or because I know I have, and I'll talk about it before. I feel like this has been on our Plex server forever,
Yeah. No,
and I thought like this was gonna. I thought Mike was gonna pick this film, or someone was gonna pick this film. I thought it was Mike for some reason, but for like longest
No,
time.
it was Kyle.
It was Kyle.
It was Kyle.
yeah. So I stumbled upon this movie on, believe it or not, like a fucking Watch Mojo fucking top 10 list. It was like top 10 most intense or crazy or scenes from movies. And there's a lot of other ones on the list. Like there was stuff from like Necromantic and Cannibal Holocaust. And then there's this one, and it was the scene, which we'll get to later, but it's the scene when she's in the subway station that was focused on in it. And I was like, that sounds fucking amazing. So what's the first thing I did? I fucking texted Monty Ozzy because, he has everything. And of course he had this movie, and I was like, holy shit. I want to watch it. And I went and collected it from him. And by a strange turn of events, I didn't actually get to watch it before it got returned to him. Thanks,
You
Mike.
got to hold on to the.
Yeah.
So I got to see this too. And yeah, after he got it from Monty, I was like, oh, this film looks sick. And I snuck up into his room and I got it. And I watched it. And then I don't even know how we returned it without you watching it.
I remember it was some events that you guys were both going to be at, and you just thought to yourself, "I'm going to be a good friend and bring
Yes,
this back."
that's right.
And didn't ask
That's
if I'd
right.
seen it yet. And I got home, I'm like, "Where the fuck's the movie?" He's like, "I gave it back."
That's right.
Well, luckily, I jumped on the internet and I found this is actually Mondo put this out.
Okay.
So they had copies of it still, so I ended up ordering it. And I finally watched it.
Yeah, because I figured that I pray that we didn't get the American version of this film, which has like some crazy amount of time cut out of it.
Yeah, Mondo one is 100%. It's all original, fully restored. That's the one we watched. So
Nice.
Chris, what about you?
I saw this already once before,
Oh.
probably about 6 months ago, because I had access to that Plex server, and that was a movie that either somebody had told me about, or I saw a clip, or you recommended it, Kyle. Like, could have been a number of things, but I was like, I'm going to check this
The
out.
cover art's very
Nobody's
interesting.
giving Kyle any credit.
I know, zero credit right now.
I might have read it myself, or maybe a small child told me on the street for no reason. I guess it could have been Kyle.
Okay,
Probably
I will
not,
say
Kyle.
for the record
Probably
that
not, Kyle.
I have been talking about picking this movie for about a year on the show. If you
I
guys
feel
are
like Mike.
confused,
Why do I feel like it was Mike?
I feel like because you probably think it feels like it's a Chris Mike pick.
It does. That is true.
Right.
That is
But
true.
it's not. It's a Kyle.
It's a Kyle
Well, I mean,
pick.
I did decide to choose it
Yeah.
out of the fan list of
Yes.
the things, but only because Kyle had been talking about it for a long time, and I just felt like it was time.
Yeah.
I wanted to make
I mean,
Kyle's dreams come true.
I actually I got so excited when this fan pick came into my email. I think I was at work and I was like, "Oh fuck yes, finally!" Like a way to force me to pick it. Yeah,
It's like in his cubicle.
yeah. I screamed in the quiet office.
He's just the same as the girl in the subway, just like constantly.
Yeah.
I'm just like rowling around.
I don't know what's wrong with Kyle, but he's like undulating on the floor. And I just, like, don't
Oh, what a
really
cool
know.
word, undulating.
Undulating.
Look at that. You don't get to use that often.
How many undulations are we going to
It's up to you.
You know what?
It's up to you. It's not a bad
That's a
review.
not bad.
great choice.
Well, we should probably get to what this movie is about. So it's time for Plots with Mike.
All right, so this film stars Mark. Mark is coming home from some kind of weird covert mission that he was doing, talks to a bunch of guys, goes back to his family, who he hasn't seen in a long time, only to find out, like, something's off. You know what I mean? Like, his wife's a little distant, and then come to find out she wants a divorce. And more things come out. He presses on her like it's somebody else. Finds out, yeah, there's a guy, there's somebody else. And he just can't take it. The jealousy starts bubbling up. And that's when shit gets weird. Really not then, but like maybe even when the credits roll. But like right in the opening sequence. Yeah, like everything starts getting, I would say, symbolic?
Symbolic? Yeah.
Oh, symbolizing?
Symbolism?
Yeah, there's a lot of symbolism. Thank
There
you.
you go.
There's a lot of symbolism that goes on. Some weird shit goes on. Some very surreal aspects, telling the story of this guy going through his divorce. And that's really, I mean, that is the plot essentially, right? These two people and how they're going to coexist, even for this child. Also, that there's a child between the two of them. It's almost like your basic divorce story,
Yeah.
but with fucked up tentacle monsters.
Yeah, and Bob's just too of an adult name for that kid.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah,
I was like,
struggled with
Bob.
that.
I was like, Bob.
Every time they said Bob, I'm like, who the fuck are they talking
I will
about?
say
Where's
that.
that grown Bob at?
maybe his name's Bobby, but they just decided to shorten it.
Or or is Robert? Can we call him Robert maybe?
Robbie.
Or Rob?
Robbie,
Robbie.
Bobby.
Yeah.
Bobby,
Like those
yeah.
are-
You know, maybe he's a Bobby,
Bob?
but he's an old soul.
So let me ask you a question. When does a Bobby grow old enough to be like, you know what?
I'm a Bob.
I think I'm a Bob.
23.
Hey, it's Bob.
I don't
Bob
know.
now,
Do you
guys.
think 23?
23.
I think maybe earlier than
Long
that even.
extended. Long extended.
No, because I can see
High
I guess
school?
no, I can see a Bobby being a
Bobby
popular
through
guy in
college?
college.
Yeah,
Bobby,
through college?
you'd be Bobby through college.
Yeah.
Did you
for
change
sure.
it to Robert if you were trying to go pro? Like
no,
professional or
that's
something?
like 23, 24 when you're hitting the professional world. Now you go by Robert or Bob.
Yeah.
Bob,
Yeah.
You got to go Bob then Robert. You can't just go from Bobby to Robert.
I mean, you could go
know
Robert
what?
to Bob.
Dude, you know what? Dealer's choice, dude. Dealer's choice.
It's true. All right, guys, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about Possession.
Here we go.
Haven't heard him.
Yeah. 1, 2. Goddamn. Fuck it. Hold on. We got T up in
We
here.
got Black T
Tee
McGee
up.
over here.
AKA Black T.
Sorry, guys, just trying to get thin.
With black tea?
Yeah.
Okay.
I drink a shit ton of tea.
1, 2, 3.
It has the same properties as green tea.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's tea.
Jesus Christ. Just get on
It
keto.
has more-
Just get on keto and
has
get
more
over it so
caffeine, too.
so I can really decide
on-
if I wanted to stop following your feed.
Just get on keto and keto
No.
over
So you
it.
can just
Pure Leaf is bullshit.
Yeah.
You got to get yourself some tea Hava,
Okay.
or go to Walmart, get yourself a big old gallon of Milos.
Okay.
or just
Alabama.
make your own fucking black tea with tea bags,
Dude,
guys. So much
Not the
cheaper.
same.
Big old gallon of
It's
Milos.
not the
I
same.
agree. It's not the same.
Oh my god.
Doesn't know.
It's no good, bro.
You guys just like spending money, I guess.
You know
yeah,
what?
it's
Oh
like
my
$2
God.
for a gallon of iced tea, man. That's great. That's a great price.
Great price point.
You can get 30 gallons for fucking 99 cents. Black tea.
Where are you going to store 30 gallons?
It's not that you have to make all of it at once.
Fucking
It's you have the possibilities.
bathtub filled with black tea. Thanks, Kyle. One tea bag.
Guys, the podcast is over. I'm making my vat of black tea.
Well, I mean, why did I buy the pure? I can just bottle the Pure Leaf. I'm just buying Pure Leaf to empty it out and fucking fill up the bottles now with my own bathtub black tea.
Yeah, and you know what? You're gonna thank me when you see that pocketbook.
Bathtub
You got to balance your checkbook at the end of the month, and you got all that fucking Pure Leaf money. Just sitting in there. They're like, fuck, vacation? I think so.
Oh man, save all. Look at this. Was it black tea money? Nope.
that black tea money?
Got all that Pure Leaf
Black
money.
tea money?
Shit.
Pure Leaf money.
It's like that's like your street name.
Ugh,
Black tea money.
black tea money.
Black
Fucking
tea
so
money.
funny.
All right, we're recording all of this right now, so
yeah.
And we're back. We're talking about Possession. Came out in 1981. Made 1.1 million in the box office. You know, that only rivals Sam Neill's second biggest movie, which is Jurassic Park.
Then Horizon.
Yeah. Don't forget Event Horizon.
Man,
In the
dude.
Mouth of Madness. He's a real cult icon.
Yeah,
I'd
he
say.
really.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say that. Like, I don't know if it was just his like younger years, and that's what he. I mean, I guess he's always been in this type of film because he does play in a lot of these films.
he does. I mean, right after this movie, right? Or is it the same year? He's in the third Omen.
Oh, yeah. Yep, he is.
Yeah.
Same year. Released the same year.
Do you think it was just like, okay, Sam, we got a great shot with you with Steven Spielberg. You're playing a paleontologist. Does he study demons?
Is he a demonologist
it's
as well?
dinosaurs like dragons. Sure, Sam.
Is there anything supernatural about this?
They're bones.
Yes.
Okay, I'm on board.
Okay. Bones, yes.
Bones
Death?
are scary.
Yeah.
Plenty of death.
Yep.
Call him and say yes.
Oh, shit.
So Sam Neill plays Mark in this movie, and Mark is a spy,
Mhm.
which really does not comes into play later, but really has no meaning.
I mean,
I feel like there's something to it. I feel like there's something to it, even if we don't all grasp it.
Yeah.
I think, like, maybe I should have listened to the commentary, but
Yeah, right.
I feel like there's some point where the director's just like, and this is the part where I
don't
wanted
know.
to,
But
like,
he's got,
show
A real shitty spy, though.
everyone has hiding.
I don't think so because he has a few moments where I'm just like, ooh, that's a spy move right there. When we'll get to it, but when he
Yeah.
deals with Heinrich in the bathroom, I'm like, that's a spy kill
Okay,
right
yeah,
there.
but hold on. Even before
Didn't
that,
even think
though,
about that.
Heinrich,
Yeah, that's a spy kill.
Heinrich beats him up in the most
Dude,
frou-frou kung fu way I have ever seen in my life.
He
I don't-
he ain't like the John Wick type fucking spy. He's like espionage.
Yeah.
He's doing
He's just
secrets
looking
and
through
shit.
binoculars and shit. He's not beating up
And
beating
I
asses
think
and
his
shit.
weapon is his ability to fucking talk and like.
So
and sneak
So he,
around.
and what is he like? His job
He's
is
been
to
gone-
look,
he's
get
been go-
information on some guy.
he's been gone for a year. I know that
Yes.
much. I don't
Yeah.
know exactly
It's
what his
been
job
he's
is.
deep cover.
He has a conversation with a bunch of German I don't know,
Diplomats,
leaders, let's just say.
Officials.
I think we just call them like secret military people.
Okay.
Authoritative figures.
Yeah, so that's all we really get until we're introduced to his wife. You know,
When he goes home.
he gets dropped off at the apartment complex.
No, that you have him flipped. He gets dropped off at the apartment complex, and then he goes and talks to the people.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry, excuse me. Yes, that's correct.
He goes home. It's like this weird, and it's a very weird kind of like right off the bat.
She already don't want him to be there.
It's either like the tone. This is the tone of the whole film, or it's just like, yeah, there's something definitely going on because these people have zero chemistry. And you can tell, like, it's like that weird uncomfortableness, like, you know something's wrong, but like two people don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, he's kind of trying to talk about it, and she's obviously very much standoffish. There's a lot of mystery to why she's so upset.
Yeah.
Like, what did he do?
He's gone for a year.
He's gone for a year, but also she kind of, I mean, she plays it off almost like she's like trying to forgive him for something.
Well,
you know?
she straight up asks, did you have sex with anybody while in this year? And he's like, no.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, then he had you? And she goes, no.
Yeah.
And then that's like right off the bat, you're like, that's a weird fucking question.
That's when
to ask.
they're laying in bed and they're like, yeah, we can't have sex with each other because we just don't like each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like Sam Neill is kind of during this conversation. He's kind of is he admitting his faults, or is he, or like they're kind of in this conversation?
No, he's just really trying to. He's really he's definitely like the personality. I think Mike or someone said it. It's like a personality. He's trying to just come to a resolution and fix the situation. Whereas she is already checked out and she's done.
The wall's
so like
up.
everything
Yeah,
that
he's
he's
been gone
doing
for a
is
year.
he's just attempting to come to some sort of resolution so he can feel some sort of justification. I read a really cool somebody who had a cool comment on it, which is like Sam Neill. I kind of agree with it. Sam Neill spends the entirety of this movie trying to see his wife as a horrible person as possible so that he could finally feel free of her. So like all of his actions where he's just priding and pushing, I think he almost wants to be inflicted with as much pain as possible so he can fucking get over it.
I took it as a different way. I took it as he's putting all that shit on her to blame her and that he doesn't have to feel anything. Because he doesn't admit to being at fault for anything in their relationship.
What's he at fault for?
He was gone for a fucking year.
That's his job. You don't think she knew that before she signed
Dude,
on
it
to
doesn't-
marriage? That kid's like 6 years old.
Doesn't matter. I'll put in my military experience on this where people are gone for a year, dude. Everybody's fucking spouse cheats on them. Like it happens all the fucking
Sure,
time.
but my point being, they were together clearly much longer than a year because of the age of Bob.
These are
Oh,
these
yeah,
are
and
people
even
that are
before
the same
that.
age, dude. My goddamn chief's wife gave a dude a blowjob while we were fucking gone in a bar on base.
So it's his fault.
No, but
Look,
what I'm
look,
saying is
look.
the time.
I'm just trying to figure out why Mark is at fault.
No, I'm not saying that Mark is at fault, but I'm saying he is trying to get her to admit anything so that he can
Cut it off.
Yes, so
So
that
he can cut it off.
he doesn't have to feel. Dude, I'm sorry, but when you take that job and you do those things, you kind of know that you're putting your family in that position of, well, I'm going away for a year, and that makes a person real fucking lonely.
Yeah.
Either way, especially if you're in, let's say, a spy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
what
but
the
but it's not like he was completely absent for a year. He did come home multiple times. They say at the movie and visit and all that stuff.
which
but-
they had problems then too, if I remember correctly. It was
Look,
what the movie
it's
was
clear.
saying.
It's clear. Like this stems from more than just him being gone for
Yeah,
a year.
this is
like
it. This
this
is-
is something that, and I don't think it's one or the other person's sole fault.
No, not
No,
at all.
I just-
It always takes two people to.
No,
to
I
come to this
agree. I
conclusion.
agree with that. My point of view, though, from this movie and what I saw is that Sam Neill's character never really accepts fault, though.
I don't know if I would agree with that, but at first, yes, absolutely. I'll agree that he goes through what seems to be stages
Yeah.
of anger.
Yes.
And then kind of comes to.
He gets,
but we're getting way ahead
He
of
gets
this.
to acceptance, but that then brings me to another point, which we were getting way ahead of. I think he comes to an acceptance point of it.
Well, anyways, at this point, he goes and he talks to these authoritative figures that we talked about.
Yeah, it doesn't. That doesn't really seem to go anywhere.
It doesn't really seem to go anywhere other than like he gets to go. Well, they mentioned something about a guy with pink socks that plays to some thing later on. But he goes back home, and that's when like everything's missing.
Well, because
wife's gone,
he
kid's
says he's
gone.
done. He's done with spying. He's done with it, and
Right,
they
he
want
gives it
him.
up. Right.
Yeah, they want him to keep it going, and he's like, "Nah, dude, I'm done.
Yeah, because
I'm gonna go
and because
spend
he
time
thought,
with my family."
Right? Yeah, he knew that this was a detriment to his family.
Yes.
Again, going back to like this weird, irking, like kind of uncomfortable feeling of like he knows something's wrong and he doesn't really know how to fix it, but he's got an idea. This. So that's what it makes it heartbreaking. He goes back home and then wife and kid are gone.
His wife has taken like every time he interacts with her, Anna, like it is like getting worse and worse, and she's cutting it off so quick that he doesn't even have time to like fully react to what's going on. It's like he just gets home and she's like, second phone call, I want a divorce. You know what I mean? After he's trying to figure out through her friend, is there something going on? Like, is she seeing somebody? Just tell me. She immediately calls him up and is like, we're done,
Which again isn't like, in my opinion, with this movie and just in her own personal experiences, the problem is not is she seeing someone. That's just the what you want to jump to, because again, you want that reassurance that
it's okay for you to be pissed off. Yeah. Okay. Like your justification for the whole situation, you want that confirmation that they were the asshole and you weren't, kind of a thing.
Exactly. And I think that's what he's looking for a long majority of this movie.
And I think that's what makes this so. I think maybe that this whole first part of this movie like really uncomfortable is that anybody who's gone through a breakup like kind of knows what these feelings feel like. Like you break up with somebody, if it's a bad breakup, you want to like be the one that proved it, like you got on your feet first.
Well, especially
and you're always trying to
if
find some dirt to make it that it was justified and you weren't the problem. I think
the stages that you were talking about earlier that Sam Neill goes through, I think are, I don't know, pretty well defined, like as far as how they show you like, the anger stage, like him trying to justify it, him trying to find any reason to hate her, him wanting her back, like him literally hurting himself for her, and then it just not work, and then coming to that realization that like he doesn't need her. But there's an interesting story to that in this movie as well.
That's interesting that you. I mean, just I want to stick on that. You said hurting himself for her. It's interesting you took it as that, because I took it as it was almost like a way to feel something again. Like he couldn't feel
I took it
anything.
exactly the way Chris took it.
really because I kind of saw it the way Kyle did.
Yeah, I took it exactly the way.
There's some
Chris
stuff.
took it.
We'll get to that scene though. I mean, we're not even there yet.
I mean, we are at the point where we've kind of gotten introduced to this family,
Yeah.
And their like turmoil and their troubles. And
Poor Bob, by the way.
it just seems like every time these two have an interaction together, it just gets more intense and more violent.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too that kind of irks me a little bit with this movie is like the little impracticalities of that kind of take you out of it. Right? Like, so when they meet, I think after that they meet in the restaurant. Is that when they meet in the restaurant?
Yeah.
Great.
And
can I just say, I love the way the scene was shot.
Can I tell this
Yeah.
movie? This movie is shot
I was
so
gonna
well.
hold off on that because I could go on for hours. Like the cinematography
we don't have to get
fucking
into it.
amazing.
The
But it's true.
cinematography is amazing. I'm sure it will come up in reviews or towards the end of the show, but it is amazing. And they're in this restaurant, and then like just the whole reaction of Sam Neill and how it goes from like 60 to 100. And not only that, like when we just start fucking throwing chairs, like it was too over the top. Took me out of it. Took me out of it.
Well, I
right
think
there.
that's where like this film. This is maybe that first glimpse that you get, and this is something you see throughout the rest of the film too. Is that there is some like purposefully over the top acting that's being done.
Oh, yes.
For effect. Like that this is not like bad acting, and
No.
this is just like how they know how to be. Like it's definitely something that you can tell a director told an actor, "I want you to ramp this up to 100." Like to the point where it's absurd. Like no person would ever act this way.
Right.
And
But
go on.
You know what I'll say is interesting though. Like I every single actor in this film, I think, is definitely over the top. So it's hard to like pinpoint one or the other. But honestly, like when I look at Sam Neill's performances, I think the reason why I don't have the same feeling you do of his performance, especially in this scene, being over the top, is because he like clearly is throwing like so much of his energy into his actual performance. I'm almost taken back by just being an actor. Whereas like you look at the character of Heinrich, he's the one in the film that I feel like is
Awful.
a little bit way too over the top.
Oh God, yes. I
That's
can't
at like
wait till we get to a certain point.
when
to
you
talk
look
about
at
that.
when you look at the field of actors in this film, and they're all playing these over the top, huge, emotionally driven performances. Then Heinrich, you're just kind of like, God damn, what the fuck is up with this guy?
Yeah, let me say this. I don't think there's really maybe him. I don't like Heinrich in this movie, but as far as the two main characters go, they're not bad acting. I agree. They're doing what they're told, and they're doing it to the best of their abilities, and it's actually really good to watch them like do what they're doing. What I'm pointing out is in the part of the story is it just takes you out because it hits a point of so like, especially that early on in the story, you hit such a quick point of, okay, I'm already taken out of reality of whatever this is, because it's so goddamn over the top of a reaction. Like it was too early on for that shot to be fired.
I feel like I feel like it just impressed me right away. It's kind of weird that it took you out of it, because I feel like if anything, it sucked me into it, because I was like, when I first saw the movie, I wasn't expecting it for these actors to get as intense as they do in these scenes, and to the point where I actually am like, somebody might have gotten hurt like doing that scene, because it looks like they just went full force, falling on the ground, rolling around through furniture, throwing furniture, shit like that. It's like it looks like all one take almost. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I don't know. In the choreography of it all, I was like, this just feels real to me. Like even though it was like crazy scenario, like the way it sounded,
an empty
the way
restaurant,
the way it
there.
echoed, like it just had this really like raw feel.
Yeah, that's interesting that you brought that up, because there's something I was just about to bring up too, and I wonder if our perceptions are slightly skewed because this is all of our second time watching. It's Cody's first, because I will say on first time watch, this is definitely not a one watch film. There's so many weird ways and interpretations you can pull away from this film that I feel like in the first watch is really just acclimating yourself to the style and the way that the story is going to be presented to you, and the second time is where you can actually kind of notice. You could take notice of those points like that, where it's like what looks like a crazy scene is just like what's just this wonderfully choreographed, like chaotic thing that really like puts you like at the edge of your seat, like Jesus Christ, where's it going to go from here?
It feels like it's flying at you. Like I feel like I'm in the middle of those chairs when they're getting like flipped over, And
I
it's
think,
just.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
No.
Now you go.
The visual storytelling of this, I feel like sells it.
I noticed
for me.
it more this time than the last time. I'll say that.
I got definitely a different impression the second time watching this. Like, and I kind of identified kind of too, like, where I think my first impression of this was kind of more like yours, Cody. Like, holy shit, what the fuck am I in for? And now it's more like, oh, like this kind of feels like when you're seething it in your eye, like to your eyeballs in anger, right? And you come up with this weird fantasy of some crazy fucking really attention grabbing thing you can do to try to win an argument that you think people are just going to be stunned at.
Yeah.
And it like you snap out of it and go, well, yeah, that'll get me arrested. Like,
yeah,
it definitely felt like that, and that's where you feel like, oh man, I think we're dealing with very surreal elements here.
Yes,
because
absolutely,
absolutely,
I
it
thought
might
this
be not real. Like,
yes, I thought the same thing. I thought this on this watch through. I was like, okay, well, I got the sense like since we're like following this film basically through Mark, I'm like we're starting to wonder. I'm like, how much of this shit is like actual reality, and how much of it is his like fucking psychosis and shit. And it was just like, it was. It struck me a lot stronger this time through, and I actually think I'm gonna kind of give it a little higher praise for that, because I'm like, well, that's I think great filmmaking,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to. I just feel like the style they did this movie in makes me not feel like it's corny. Like it feels like it has that dramatic side to it, which makes me not find these over the top scenes like maybe as, I don't know, laughable as you did.
I wouldn't say they're I wouldn't even say they're laughable. I would just say they're misplaced. Like, especially at this point in the movie. Again, so I'm going into this movie not knowing anything. I didn't even read the synopsis going into it. All I know is, like, obviously there's some supernatural element to it because of the cover art. Got that. totally pick up on that. So then going into it, and then, when we have like these instantly dramatic, really no backstory, kind of drag out fucking fights happen instantly, you're not getting for a 2 fucking hour movie. Like, you're like, okay, this is where the slow burn is starting. Okay, so it's just gonna go even more fucking ridiculous than this.
I'll totally agree with you. This watch through, I will say the thing that I called out as like, I guess a lacking element of it is just a little more like if the filmmaker had spent just a little more time establishing maybe the relationship that once was. It would, I think, help me or in other audiences justify his aggressive actions.
Yeah, because
it.
After this point, for me at least, it just becomes Sam Neill becoming an aggressive fucking asshole for the rest of the fucking film.
Well, no, not for the rest of the film. I feel there's a point where, yeah, those first couple of stages and that first, let's just call it 40 minutes of the movie, like it's the deterioration of I feel like it's the complete deterioration of them as human beings with each other, even showing him going through withdrawals, like almost like he was on drugs or something.
No, he went on a binger.
Yeah,
he went on a binger.
He was clearly drunk and
okay,
fucked
so
up.
he was going through like withdrawals and writhing around like a heroin addict, basically. It was just so I feel like. Yeah, he went through these like stages of anger. There's the whole slapping scene. But then eventually I feel like it shows that he wants to come out of that and be... Because he meets a new love interest, which I feel like pulls him away from...
Well, I feel like we're glossing over like a really important part here. Is that...
we need to get back on track of the film, so...
But like, before the chair throwing scene happens, he says that he doesn't want to see his son again.
Yes.
Which is something that like...
Another thing that
father kid, like you're like, what the fuck?
Nope, that was another thing that I jumped on immediately.
Like, there's no way. And then you think about it, and you're like, in my mind, I'm thinking like, okay, this guy's being so. I feel like this is a petty action.
It
like,
is.
yeah, you're taking my son away from me. I'm gonna fucking prove it. Like, I don't even want to see it. How about that? Like, it felt like that kind of like a spiteful kind of thing that he was doing.
Totally.
But to your point too, I agree with you, Chris. I do think he starts going on an upward path because. He obviously abandons this idea very quickly. Like,
he does. He
decides,
spends
3 weeks.
No, he doesn't. He goes on a fucking bender, spends 3 weeks missing, and then comes back to find that his kid has not been taken care of. So he just does it out of fucking having to do it.
So let's talk about this. You're saying a
and
bender?
Then, yes, that's exactly. And then he takes.
Ooh,
what do you mean?
I want to disagree with you.
Then he takes. Hold on. Then he takes. I feel like taking care of his son as a weapon towards her. Of like, well, fuck you. You're not around now. I got to be here, and now this is a burden on me because of you. Fuck you. And that starts a whole nother trend.
I don't know that he was on a bender.
It's pretty clear.
He was gone for 3 weeks.
I know he was gone for 3 weeks. I took it as, and I don't know if anybody else was
full of alcohol bottles.
No, but I felt like the way he was writhing on the ground in such pain, like the irony of it was that there's alcohol everywhere, but I took it kind of like he's going through withdrawal.
It looked
like
he
got what he threatened, but he doesn't. Now he's fucking mad that he got it.
I think the withdrawal is his wife leaving him, his kid leaving him, and I think that's what kind of like.
Gotcha.
I mean, that's symbolically. That's what I took. Yes, I agree.
That's what
I don't think it was a literal like. He was gone on a 3 week, or maybe literally.
Maybe
that was the real thing that happened.
I took it as a literal, and the only reason when he came back to find that his son wasn't taken care of, it was like, oh, now I got to fucking one up on you, and it's more of a power move. It's a power move again. As a person who's gone through 2 divorces in this situation, so I can kind of connect emotionally to some of this stuff. I also have one son, like. To me, I took it as a power move of like, well, this is you dropping the ball. This actually, again, shows that you're the piece of shit. I'm not. Even though I just tried to leave my kid fucking 3 weeks ago, this just proves that you're even shittier than me. And now I have to take over. Even though I didn't want to, I'm still taking care of your fucking worthless ass.
Yeah, but you don't think that he's taking care of Bob out of pure spite, right?
No,
there's definitely love there. There's definitely love there.
I think
initially, yes.
I think. Well, I don't even think initially because Bob's not what brought him back to the apartment. Like, I don't think Bob's what brought him there. But
no.
I think
no, it was
initially when he takes care of Bob, that's I get from that scene. That comes from a genuine place. But after he puts Bob to bed and his wife comes home, that's when he weaponizes the fact that he was there to take care of the kid.
Yeah.
So
when she just fucking shows up and just starts.
It's true. He is a piece of shit in some degrees. Like he,
definitely. And it keeps on rolling. Like he keeps on rolling with it. I mean, there's obviously opportunities that are never like the whole thing with I kept on laughing about. One of the things that this movie does that I also just am not a fan of is it's very repetitive. This lady comes home, I don't know, 6 times. And he keeps on asking her not to come home. At that point, I'm like, change the fucking locks, dude.
He doesn't want to. He wants her home.
Yeah,
though.
he doesn't.
Like,
yeah, that's a bullshit argument.
Change the fucking locks.
I'm not an argument. Not on you. I just,
No.
Yeah, he's making that argument.
No, I
don't
agree.
think he believes that.
No, I agree too. And then Chris, you brought up earlier too. Both of them kind of do this. Heinrich's a funny character in the fact that Heinrich is, in my opinion, just to kind of brush over him.
Well, let's talk about who
He's
he
a
is
bold,
first.
He's a bold.
Well, yeah.
Character.
We should
Let's
definitely talk
understand
about
who he is.
who he is.
So he finds out that his wife has been sleeping with somebody. Calls his friend, her friend, who
Marjorie, is that her name?
Marjorie, yeah.
Marjorie
Has
who
a broken foot?
Despises Mark, by the way.
Yeah, and also has a
Despises
broken foot or
Yeah.
leg.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Something's wrong
she's.
with her leg,
Something's
yeah.
wrong.
She had
Yeah.
a cast on her foot.
She despises Mark, and she only wants to see him have pain. So she tells him that basically, yeah, she's been sleeping with a guy for going on a year now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And he's like, what the fuck? So this is, and she finds out later on that it is this person named Heinrich.
Heinrich.
Yeah. And yeah, you can go from there.
Heinrich calls Mark.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
He makes a point to say.
yeah, because no, Heinrich's whole goal is like Heinrich's thing is like this is where that year of
Dude.
him going away comes into play.
Is he not like the quintessential like douchebag
Yeah.
you would hope you would like never hope your
He's-
girlfriend ends up with?
He's the-
like, are you fucking serious?
He's
This
the
guy?
one. No, he's the one who looks for girls like that. Oh, your husband's gone. You're so lonely.
He's all into new agey
I
shit.
Yeah, and he's always playing like the morality
Yeah,
card.
I will take care of you. You
and
deserve better
fucking
than
with your
this.
shit. Yeah.
You
Yep.
know, and what I think he represents, at least for her and in the relationship and how this divorce is happening and how I see it, what he represents is basically, boom, couple breaks up. Again, immediate. This is the first boyfriend afterwards. And again, your first suspicions as a male are just like Sam Neill's. That distrust of women comes in. Oh, well, is he better fucking? Is he a better fucker than me?
Yeah,
He
that's
fucks
an
better?
uncomfortable thing.
He fucks better? Is that what it is?
It's like that scene in Closer. Everybody knows that scene where he's.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't want to
don't
breeze over
remember.
the fact that
Oh, you haven't
they
seen
that
it,
they specifically it is a known fact in the film that like the big thing that drew her to him was this is purely a sexual relation for her.
No, exactly. That's 100%.
You know?
That's 100% what I'm saying. He represents and is like the first part of it, because the second part of it, and what I think the ending of this film is, and I don't want to get into that, is the second part of what I'm going to say and how this story goes, but.
That was
really confusing. I know, because
Did
I'm
he
not,
say second
What I'm
part
about
like
to
5
say
times?
is the second thing
'cause
that I'm
I
going to
don't- this is
say.
the first
Second part.
Yeah, this is the first half of okay. I'll
The
just
first half of the second part.
I'll just
Start over.
I'll just spoil it.
no, start over.
No, just start over again.
your thought again.
Yeah.
He is the first stage of her moving on past Mark, basically.
Yeah.
Is what his representation is. It may just be a boning of sorts, but that's what he represents. I think the end represents another portion of her moving on, and I'll get
Well, I
into
also want to point out too that like when he does convince her for what he thinks convinces her for a split second, because let's say she does come back before Heinrich even calls him. She comes back and he pours his heart out to her. I'll do anything for you. I don't care that you cheated on me. I don't
No.
care. Like he does all these like weird like desperate things. You're like kind of like, come on,
She's
dude.
like, I don't love you.
Yeah. And for a second, you think he wins. Like she said, it seems like she's going to stay. And that's when Heinrich calls.
Right.
And he's just like, well, I'm taking her back. Like, fuck you, dude. Like, I got her. Right. But I also want to note that I feel like that scene also really shows kind of like that this woman isn't like, whatever the reason was that she went to go sleep with this guy, like she feels terrible about it. Like at no point is
I
she
agree.
like coming off as just like, well, fuck you. I think this is over, and all I want to do is get out. Like she's not angry. She's very much like, I know I did something terrible.
Right.
I feel fucking terrible about it, but I hate you. I don't like you anymore. Yeah, and it's heartbreaking more than like I feel like it's not quite as angry from the outside.
It's not. It's not quite as angry from the outside because Sam Neill's overshadowing that with his own anger.
Well, yeah, he's very, very angry.
That's the thing is like he keeps on. I feel like that's the story here of what's really going on is Sam Neill is yelling at her. Let's fix this. Let's fix this. Let's fix this. Yeah, doing the whole fucking thing. And the whole time, at least the beginning part of the film, is she's saying, no, you just don't understand and you're not going to understand. And he won't accept that answer.
Well, he won't accept that answer because he knows there's something she's not telling him. Like there's a piece, and there clearly is.
Like
other than the one affair.
That's the movie part. I'm talking about the actual like symbolic message of this film. Like in my opinion, I think that's. You know what I mean? Like that's what 100% what she's saying from the get-go of this film is I think she's saying she's done. She may not be fully done because he keeps on fucking dragging her back in.
Well, the kid's there too, and
Yeah,
he cares about the kid.
No, don't get me wrong. Yes, the kid is there too, but the kid is also like the kid's not the important part of the story in this one, which is kind of weird, except for the end, which I feel like he's trying to say something with that, but because it's more or less about they kind of use him as a weapon, they kind of use him as an excuse, and it's just a way to bring her back. I feel like
the only thing is that
but you could say, hey, could you drop the kid off at my fucking place, or I'm gonna take the kid out and walk. That's what I mean. Like it's just an excuse for them to come in and out of the house.
I mean a little bit. I feel that the wife does feel remorse. Because she looks at this as being like, yeah, I can't deny any of the things that you're saying. Like, I don't like you. This relationship is over. You need to get to fucking move on.
I 100% agree.
But you're absolutely right. I went about this the wrong way. I fucking went and slept with somebody else. I betrayed our marriage. I betrayed like our parenthood. With this child, like all these things she feels guilty for, and I think that's what really brings her back. I think she wants forgiveness to some extent, but
he's
not
fucking
ready to give it.
But can I just say like the name of the movie is Possession?
Yes,
and the way she goes about some of these, even if she maybe does feel remorseful or something like that, there is an element to her acting or the acting choices that she makes and the way she like communicates with Sam Neill. That does make it seem like she's going in and out of a possessed kind of state, you know?
Absolutely.
And so that kind of adds to the confusion as to like, is she remorseful or is she like totally like this heinous woman that's just moving on?
I was glad you brought that up.
I always got the moments where she felt like this heinous woman and stuff like that is when she was always pushed too far by Sam Neill's character. Where he just would fucking prod and then she'd be like, finally, you know what? I am the fucking bitch. And then just fucking go crazy.
Well, she has
him.
a couple of moments like that.
Yeah.
No, but there's even like there's even a scene where that she doesn't explode. She just is like she's like literally like disgusted even by him and by the sight of him and the way and him touching her and stuff. And like that whole performance does. That's where I feel like the supernatural element of this film kind of comes into play because there's a lot of moments when she doesn't seem like she's actually in control of her body anymore.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say that, I mean, and then as the movie goes on, I actually feel that happen more and more.
And it gets progressively stronger over her.
Yeah. So,
well, the first big hint to that, too, is like when he goes to, I mean, I don't think anything really happens too much between these points, but he goes to see Heinrich for the first time and he basically invites himself into his apartment and he sees all these like psychology books.
Yeah.
So which automatically I think leads him to believe, I knew it, you're fucking brainwashing her.
Yep.
And that's the first time where you're thinking as an audience member, oh, maybe he's right. Like,
he's
maybe
a spy
this Heinrich guy
so he's looking for certain things.
Right. And he has a weird bookshelf too. He's got a weird like bookshelf full of psychological fucking shit too. Mm-hmm. So I think that there's something in, I mean, if I look closer at the titles, I feel like and if I was more literate, I guess, more well-read, I would know the difference between maybe some of those titles and what they were trying to say. But I did get the impression that you clearly know that Mark is looking at these books and saying, hey, wait a second, these are books that are teaching him how to brainwash my wife. Yeah. And then it becomes like The Broad. Like, it's very fucking, like,
The Brood?
Something's up. Yeah,
No,
Brood,
the
sorry.
Brood. The Brood.
You know, the
Way
Broad.
better-
They think it was the Broad.
The Brood.
Hey,
Way better film.
Chris, can you Photoshop
Broad.
the Broad movie poster?
Broad.
Yes.
Broad.
I was gonna say just on that point, when we're in that scene, I like what they do with it though, because you've got Sam Neill showing up. They end up getting in a fight, like, but
That's like the fanciest kung fu I've ever
yeah,
seen.
I mean,
Yeah.
but all the
God.
while you're kind of like, as
I was
an
like,
audience
is this dude
member,
bowling?
they're making you kind of like Heinrich because of the way he's treating the situation, and he's trying to be civil.
Well, he's very.
You know?
What?
Yeah,
I
but
found him
Oh, my-
unlikable from
Yeah,
the
well,
get-go.
but
What a
even-
pretentious
I
asshole.
just say
even
something?
down to even down to as a filmmaking choice, like having the mother live there with him and have her be a part of his world. It's trying to soften you up.
That's so funny because the mother being there made me think he was more of an asshole. Be like,
Yeah,
really, you
like
just
he's
banging
Olympic.
random chicks with your fucking mom in the
I don't
apartment?
know.
God
It,
Not
damn.
a fan.
it definitely like falls into the more modern trope of like the weird yoga teacher boyfriend who's like super peaceful and you can never get anything over him because
Yeah.
like he's always acting so far above all of it.
Yeah, but he's also just
But
a fuck.
but the fight scene is great because it kind of shows that like
That's not great.
what? No, because it does lead into like this.
The fight scene itself is bad.
Yes.
But
Well, the fight scene itself is bad, but what I'm saying is what it brings to the table is like here he is this whole time trying to get it over on this Heinrich guy. Heinrich is just like so peaceful and above it all.
He's living
living
like,
on a totally different
Yeah.
ethical like plane here, and then he resorts to violence and gets his ass kicked.
Yeah.
To which you see this as kind of being like, oh man, like now you're like. In his mind, I feel like emasculated.
Yes.
as
Yeah.
to
Oh,
say.
definitely, even
like
more.
this idea that, like, oh my god, I've been defeated by such a greater human
Oh,
being.
not only that, like he's also been told that by his wife that
He fucks better.
He fucks better.
he fucks
Yeah.
better.
Not only
Yeah.
that, he
So this
just
is
judo
just
chopped
cut-
his ass.
So-
yeah, it fucking.
Sleep.
This is the last dance after to be good at one thing. And
I was like, God
resorting
damn
to
it.
violence.
I was so mad when I saw that. I was like, a fucking judo chop.
yeah.
Come
Judo
on.
chopped the fuck out of him.
Fucking.
kicked him in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, but dude, he judo chopped him.
Yeah, he started out with a couple chops. He
He
goes,
did
chop, chop,
chop.
chop.
I'm pretty sure I
No.
saw Swayze doing that in Roadhouse.
No, Swayze
No,
rips out a
this is
fucking
like-
throat, Chris. How dare you?
This guy does it with style.
I'm pretty sure he chopped somebody.
Yeah, this
This
is
guy,
too much
this guy does
style.
it with too much
Too much
style.
style.
Yeah, it's a little too much.
Too much style and
you
great.
keep
Like on the
saying-
catwalk
You
style.
keep saying you keep bringing up that he
Yeah.
said you keep bringing up that he said he fucked his wife, and that's one thing I love
He's a
about
predator.
the movie is that the conversations. It's like it's almost what goes on inside your head when you
Yeah.
are feeling
Yes.
this way. It's the kind of things you wish you could ask your significant other. Just like come out with it. Does he fuck better than me? It's all these like insecurities
Yeah.
that he's basically like laying on her, and she's just
This
like
is people- this
she's
is
just
He's saying
firing
the worst
back.
thing.
No, this is what people fucking do. Like people do this shit.
No,
This
I
is
know.
not
I know that it
like-
happens in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know this, but like the whole scenario of going over to the guy's house and wanting to like actually start some shit
That
like
fucking
that's
happens too.
That's a
It turns into like a conversation,
I wanna-
basically.
okay, let's talk
He's
about-
walking through the guy's
Let's
house.
talk about how many times did people have to walk me down from being like, no, dude, if you see him, you're not going to do that shit.
There is
Yeah.
a sense of it's so much of it that it's all too good to be true. When
Yeah.
he's throwing those fucking chairs in that initial scene, and you get the impression, okay, obviously the chef and like the fucking thing have to tackle him. So there's some reality to it.
yeah, and
but,
obviously
like,
something like this has probably happened before,
Yeah.
but it's like
in reality, you'd be in fucking jail right now. Like, there's no way you're getting out of that.
He didn't even look that fucked up after that. I'm like,
Yeah.
I thought for sure he would have looked a little banged up.
There's some weird
like-
shit. There's scenes where when he there's a scene later on where he starts hitting her and she's bloody and she's walking around through the streets.
Oh
There's
my
no
God, we
fucking
didn't
way
even
that
talk
in
about
5
this.
seconds somebody's gonna be like, call the cops right now. There's a bloody woman and a guy chasing her and grabbing her. Like,
Dude,
it's-
some cars fell off the back of like a tow truck.
oh yeah, she stood in
Right.
front of a
Oh
there's
man.
definitely an aspect of this movie that you feel like, okay, this is not really happening.
I think it's. I think what the best way we can look at it is like. So I mean, it definitely not a shocker. The filmmaker was clearly going through his own divorce when he wrote this
At this
film,
time, yeah.
and I feel like a lot of these scenes, the slapping scene, the going crazy in the restaurant scene, the confronting the other guy scene, I feel like these are all moments that he probably fantasized about and thought about,
100%.
and he accurately conveys that, I think, through his filmmaking style, where it's like when you're watching it, to Mike's point, I felt the same way. I'm watching this and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, but this didn't ever actually happen, but this is something that somebody had thought about and fantasized about. And that's how we took it in the film versus being like, this is like, oh, this is all, the director did all this shit. Like, we know that this stuff really happens, but this is like what the general populace tend to do is they tend to think about all these things that they're going to do, they don't do.
I never was fantasized about being beat up by a bowler.
What do you mean?
No.
Bowler.
The fucking pose he does at the end of the last fucking thing.
And I will say, I don't think the director fantasized about getting his ass kicked.
No.
I think he fantasized about confronting the guy. It just went poorly.
Yeah, I think it's how your mind goes through things. When you fantasize about things,
Yeah.
there are moments in your fantasies where you're like, oh, but the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like there are moments of that happen like
That's
that.
what
where
separates us from the psychopaths.
And yeah, it's also like, I also think it's like, what makes this such a cerebral film is that when those fears manifest, like as the worst possible scenario that could happen, you know exactly where they're coming from because like I feel like everybody's kind of felt them to some extent. If anybody's been through a bad breakup, you do start feeling feelings of inadequacy.
Yeah, you've been
as
through.
soon as she starts dating somebody else.
Yeah.
You start sizing that person up to you, and you start
100%.
wondering things, and you start realizing things, and I feel like this film does that well, and I think they're doing it in a very symbolic way.
Yes.
I don't disagree with anybody here with what they're feeling, whether it's real or not. I just kind of feel like there are moments in this film where you're kind of like, okay, but like, this is not realistic. If I took this realistically, like this guy should be in jail and this is over.
No.
Yeah.
What I take realistically out of this and what's put into the overtop performances in scenes like this and in this movie is not so much. Like, I feel like, this was the like how exactly the director was feeling. This is him getting his fucking bitters out on film, basically.
Yes. Yeah, no.
I don't know. Sometimes it's not a good look.
I think it's the same thing. We talk about like The Brood. I think it's very much like the same situation. You can make a film about your divorce and the fantasies that you may feel during your divorce.
Right.
I don't want to make it seem like maybe this guy was.
But I also feel like this guy, like from what I was seeing, I'm like, dude, I get, like, trust me, been through it twice, my friend. I get it. It's hard. I know, but there's some real overly emotional shit in this movie.
I mean, but you
that
can't.
I'm picking up on.
But you. I mean, none of us could actually say that because depending on how one person emotionally reacts to the situation versus how another person emotionally reacts to the situation, it's completely different.
Like, let's take a scene that we'll go back to a scene that we kind of talked about a little bit, like the scene where they get in a fight and he beats her.
Yeah,
that scene.
And that's pretty much what happens next, right? Like,
yeah, that's basically what happens next.
Okay.
Is he comes back and he's all beaten and bloodied, and then she comes home and then she again just
starts pushing him.
Pushes on him,
yeah.
but she's really just emasculating him even more after everything that just happened, essentially. And then he fucking. I think she slaps him first, and then she does because it does that slow mo shot, and then he just fucking. Bam!
Gotta get that
Back and
justification in there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So go on, yeah. So now we're at this point. He hits her, and there's a fight between the two.
But I mean, that whole scene, I took that almost as too realistic. I'm like, this looks like you. I was like, okay, I took this as you got to the point to where you were so angry that you saw yourself beating the shit out of whoever this movie's about to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's what I took it as because the way it's done, the way it's acted, the way it's written. Is that scene alone that's probably the most horrific scene in this movie to me.
Oh yeah, it's a terrible scene.
Well, she gets a terribly bloody nose and face too to go with it.
Yeah,
and she's running down the street like a
I just mean like the whole whole.
The idea is striking, but again, I don't feel like that's super outside the realm of reality. Again, the thing that separates
that's what's terrible about it.
Yeah. But the thing that separates, I feel like the herd of society and like the exceptions out there is like people do fantasize about maybe it's not a girlfriend, maybe it's a coworker, a friend, or someone that you're just really pissed about, and you fantasize about beating the shit out of the person, but you never fucking do it.
Yeah, there are base animalistic. Automatic feelings that you may feel that we always fight, but like being a civilized human being means that you don't act on those
I almost
things.
feel like I almost wonder if this movie was a little like cathartic for the director, whereas like all these things he thought about doing he could actually get other people to do
That's
and
what I
perform
totally
on
felt
screen.
from this film.
you
Watching
know?
it the second time, I definitely feel like he was like, "Here's all the shit I felt. I'm gonna throw it on this fucking celluloid."
And like someone else can do it, he doesn't have to do it.
Yes.
And it's almost it gets that kind of out
Not
of his system.
justifying. I don't want to be
No, no,
but justifying
I don't think
violence.
he actually would ever do that.
No, I 100%. Nah, see, that's what scares me about it because I 100% agree with you guys. Like that's what he was trying to get out. But part of me is like, man, you were kind of part of this shit. Like this shit got that because when I read this, what his point of view of it was when you say bad divorce, and this is.
It's pretty bad.
This is pretty fucking bad, and you can pick up where it. And you're like, was okay. So how much of this is taken from your reality, and then what part did it stop?
You know, I got a strong Lars von Trier vibe, especially the movie Antichrist.
Well, definitely the actresses.
Well-
I feel like have that kind of.
I think both.
That
Even
range.
Sam Neill and
Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe in that, but like even I'm thinking more of just the. I guess I'm thinking more in the emotional context of the director, the writer was going through
Yeah.
at the time, because I mean that's part of his depression film
Yeah,
series,
right.
And like, I get this exact. Man, I get the exact same feel and vibe. It's like he perfectly captured and encapsulated all kind of the dark thoughts and shit that he had,
The
and anger, and he put it on film, just like this director did regarding his divorce, and he put it on film. It's almost like a way of releasing it through art or something.
I agree 100% with that. And I think it was over dramatized and fantasized, to
Both films.
to be a film, to be a movie. So I get that
Yeah.
part of it.
That's like the one scene though in this movie that does not feel like that over the top.
Which one?
The one where he beats the shit out of his wife.
No, I totally thought it was way over the top.
I don't know, man. I'm specifically talking, I guess, about the dialogue and some of the things and how he, even after he's done, he fucking comes back. He's so mad. He's so mad. I think he's not only mad at her he's also mad at himself for beating the shit out of her.
I don't know. He lets her go and then
he
chases
after her because again, he got so mad that he let her get that mad that he was gonna fucking go beat her again.
Yeah. And then
So he had to chase her down to the fucking streets.
Really? I kind of
That's
took
what
it.
I got.
I kind of more took it as
He's literally
fuck. I hit her.
I need to
I
apologize.
might never see her again.
Yeah.
Oh no, I didn't.
It did seem like it came from his motivation after hitting her was like a place of remorse and desperation, and like kind of like it's like he was scared because he's just like, I crossed a fucking line. I'm never gonna see her again.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. I think he does hit that in that scene, and then it fucking switches back to anger once he realizes that she's already fucking down the stairs and leaving, and he doesn't even get a chance to apologize because I feel like he feels like he should because again she started it, she slapped him first.
Can you
That's what
imagine?
caused
She
the
also
snap.
laughs at him in this scene. She also emasculates him further because he asks her to.
So-
she hits him and he says, "Do it again."
Because the thing that put me on that thing was like, because same thing. I was like, oh man, he feels bad about this, and then that switch flips again of anger, where I'm like, this is where this becomes too realistic for me, and I'm like, he went through this. He may have done this shit. This director or whoever wrote.
I don't
this
think.
fucking-
I don't think he actually.
I don't know, man,
physically
because when he
hit
runs the
someone.
stairs,
I don't
when
think
he
that's a fair
runs
thing to make an assumption.
Yeah,
When he-
let's not
when he
make an
runs the-
accusation
when he
based
runs-
on a fucking
Absolutely not.
artistic
Absolutely
expression.
not.
That just seems.
when he runs the stairs and he just yells, "You fucking bitch! You fucking bitch! You fucking bitch!" and then runs down the stairs after her to assumingly beat her again.
Dude, no.
Like that becomes too much.
No,
Pretty
no.
realistic.
I don't
feeling,
mind
though.
if you want to have the conversation of whether or not he had to be so on the nose with all of this shit or so honest about all of it, and whether we need to see that. Like, we can make that argument. That argument's been made multiple times in modern stuff. Like, do we have to see a rape? Do we have to? Like, I get that, right? But like, I don't want to make the assumption that this director wasn't just throwing his worst, darkest like fantasies onto a piece of celluloid, but doesn't necessarily mean he was going to do it.
Yeah, I don't think that's a fair thing for us to do, and I don't get behind that.
Was this the scene before or after he hires the private investigator?
This is after he hires a private
Yeah.
investigator, like early in the film.
He does. Yeah, he hires a private
It
investigator.
takes
even though he,
about 48 minutes to get killed.
But that's the thing is like he hires the private investigator. This is where some of the other parts of
well,
the story
yeah, I think we need
unfold.
to.
All right, guys, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about possession.
Going here. All right, 1, 2, 3. That was terrible.
Oh, we're there. And we're back talking about possession. Came out in 1981. Cats are walking in.
All the Time.
Oh,
There's Nora's.
the time. Let's get into when. So this awesome spy has to hire a private investigator
Fucking cat.
to follow his wife. Which is that one threw me off too. I was like, a spy has to follow an investigator. Okay, but it drives the story.
There's different types of spies.
I like these investigators though. They're kind of
I do too. They're fucking great.
I love how they like when he's chasing her to
He's
the apartment.
Worst.
Is he not the worst?
I said that. I was like, man, that's the worst fucking tale ever. God damn, you're literally running next to her sprinting.
It's hard not to be suspicious in a town with nobody.
I like when he runs up the stairs and he's like, I know what I'll do not to draw suspicion. I'll just run past her. And he just runs past her.
Yeah.
And she's like, what the fuck are you doing?
And then he gets up one more floor and he just starts stomping his feet like he's going up the stairs.
It was pretty bad. And
yeah, it was
really bad. That's probably some of the worst acting in this film, actually.
However, some of the one part that I really loved with him was when he does get into the apartment and he claims he's like the window inspector.
Yeah,
super.
Such a weird fucking. Like it seems like you fucked up, but it worked out for you. Like I'm here to fix the windows, and she's like, I mean, I guess. Oh fuck! I can't believe that worked. Yeah, I gotta check all the windows.
I have to check all the windows because an old lady said that
glass fell,
and he needs to check all the windows to make sure that they're secure.
in the entire building. And you know what? It's just her
the
turn.
Only smart move this guy has.
The job's a job.
Yeah, it is, and I love this scene because he he keeps it going. He even stays in that character.
Yeah,
even to the point when she's trying to seduce him, and he's just like, I'm just here to check the windows, ma'am. Jesus. And he's just so committed to this bullshit character he just made up. Like,
you know why? Because he yes-ands.
But my point with that was going to be up to this point, I thought he was the worst actor in this film so far because him tailing is terrible.
Yeah,
but then when he's in here
taken away from him,
when he's in here doing his little spiel, I'm like, you know what? That's great fucking acting.
I was on the edge of my seat during that scene. I couldn't remember where we saw the monster for the first time.
I feel like we see a hint of it, right?
It's in the bathroom.
Yeah.
In this scene, it's the first time we see any little.
You're right. He goes into the
him.
bathroom and he sees the creature.
Yeah.
And then he sees a bloody egg sack on a wall.
Anna comes up and stabs him in the neck with a broken wine bottle.
That's right.
Oh man,
that's right. And
then
multiple
again,
times.
Yeah.
I like this scene a lot because it sold me on the fucking stabbing.
Well, I don't know if we've really mentioned it, but her acting is really phenomenal in this
she's
movie.
amazing.
Yeah, we really haven't actually focused on her.
Even down to this scene where she has just a broken wine bottle. Her eyes are so wide and maniacal when she starts doing this. This also plays back into the possessed state that she seems to keep going in throughout the film. Just jabs him and tons of blood comes out of his neck and then does it again. And it's ruthless. And I guess we don't know at that point what she does with the bodies, but we find out later.
Yeah, because what happens is basically, he does not lose. I'm sorry, he wins in not being the worst actor in this film because I think the worst acting comes up a little bit later. We're about to get to it here in a little bit. In this film.
Yeah.
Because we were saying how bad he was when he was chasing after her.
Right.
But,
how far are we going?
Right now?
Yeah.
To all the way. All the way
to the future.
No, because I realized when does he meet the teacher that looks exactly like his wife? That's
He
like
met
a huge important shit.
He met her in between this.
We should bring it up then.
Yeah.
It's like a super important part.
Yeah, that's true.
It is a super important. So Sam Neill meets Bob's
Helen.
teacher. Helen.
Yeah. Meanwhile, when this investigator is tailing Anna, Mark is taking Bob to school, taking care of Bob, and he meets Bob's teacher, who is a spitting image of his wife.
She's identical, basically.
Yeah.
Maybe hair's a little different, and
colors.
her eye
Green
color
eyes.
is oddly bright.
Green.
Yeah, super
Yes.
green.
So and he's weirdly it's a moment of also weird shock because he's like. He recognizes that you look exactly like my wife.
Yeah.
She has no idea, and then even asks, "Have you met my wife before?" And he's like, "Yeah, all the time." And as if to say, and at no point in time do we have a conversation about how we look identical.
Yeah.
So weirdly enough, he just kind of goes into it.
Well, first he accosts her.
Yeah, he tries to rip her
He does try
hair
to
off.
grab her. Yeah, because he thinks it's a wig.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's like, what the fuck? Like, what are you doing here at the school?
Pretending to be somebody else.
But she's obviously has no idea what he's talking about, and it's just one of those other surreal moments where it kind of goes off, and then that's it. He never really addresses it or even talks about it ever again.
It just confuses you as an audience member.
Yeah.
Because you're like, what is this supposed to mean?
Yeah, and it basically sets up for this teacher then to start making random house calls just to check up on Bob and like kind of fulfill that motherly role
Yeah,
in the
immediately.
household.
Yeah, I mean, later on in the film, they do actually start
They
having
lay naked together.
They lay naked together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the funniest thing. That scene like just opens and Sammy's like, "So what? Are they not allowed to have sex? So they're just going to lay naked together? Is that what's happening?"
I don't know.
I
I always thought that
think
maybe they do
probably
have
just
sex
banged.
eventually. Yeah. I don't know, but he does almost literally she almost literally takes the role of Anna, who is the same actress, the same identical person, other than eye color and
Which
hair.
is could that just be like, again, if we're dipping into the psychology of it, the fantasy of what he wanted Anna to be?
There's a part of me
Yes.
that I definitely read that as when you date somebody for the first time, you're just kind of replacing the person. Maybe if it was if you're pining for somebody, you're looking over another version of that
the person.
person,
Right.
because you
I
can't
think
have
you're replacing that. You're placing that person with the same. Essentially, trying to replace them with the same person, but with all the traits that you prefer. All
Right.
the opposite traits, basically.
Well,
But in the odd thing, knowing full well that that's not her, because he's still pining after his actual wife.
Who's still coming over to the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she's got to.
She's got to watch Bob.
She's got to watch Bob or do the laundry or
or
whatever
make
else.
Fight
or
with her
grind
ex-husband.
up some meat.
grind up some meat and try to kill somebody
Can
with
we
it.
talk about that scene?
Yeah.
That scene was really intense. Like just
Very intense.
just the building of the whole scene, where it starts with just some bickering and she's aggressively, using or preparing these vegetables and these meats, I guess, in this meat grinder, and the sound is just grinding over this like argument that continues to get more intense and more intense. She's cutting the meat with the electric knife, which comes
Which
into
what I want to say, definitely not a good cut of meat. You got to use an electric knife to cut it.
But the way
Yeah.
she's cutting it, the way she's so close to her own hand when she's cutting the meat,
Yeah, I kept
it
thinking-
creates this tension
Yeah.
and anxiety.
Well, Chris, I'd like to agree with you on that, but I can't because there's just one other movie that does it better, and that's Emilio and the waitress in fucking the Stephen King movie,
Maximum Overdrive.
Maximum Overdrive. Everybody knows that is the best electric knife scene and builds the best tension. Chris,
There's not a lot of electric knife scenes. I
Yeah.
feel like
it's those two
Should-
movies that I know of.
Should we make a top top 3 list?
Well, I think there was another one.
top
like-
three electric knife cuts.
One of the
idle
Gremlins
idle hands.
and Gremlins.
Oh, there is one in Gremlins.
There's
Isn't
one in
there?
Gremlins. Doesn't the mother pick up a fucking
Yeah.
turkey knife and?
Maybe Serial Mom uses one. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I don't
Can't
know.
remember.
Anyway, I feel like it's been done a few
That
times.
needs to be a best top 10 list though, or
Well,
top 5.
Top 10 uses of the electric knife.
to ruin the fun. It's weird because she never uses any of this fucking meat for anything.
No.
Like you don't get
No, she's like-
cutting and she's preparing things and I'm like, wait a second, are you staying
Well,
for dinner? Like you're just doing this to do it.
Yeah, and plus it cuts to the scene when she's clearly like she's like not really present. She's just shaking her head yes or no to questions, and it cuts to like this low shot looking up, and the meat grinder's just hanging over the countertop. She's just grinding meat
Yeah.
and it's falling on the ground. Like she's not really present or doesn't really realize the situation that's happening.
It's
at
a
all.
very strange
At
scene.
these points, I was thinking, because now we've been introduced to the monster, and you realize that she has love for the monster.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, she's probably slept with this thing if we didn't have this confirmed already.
Well, she does. She actually
So-
literally definitely says it at one
Yeah.
point
so
in time.
that
'Cause after she-
quality,
Yes.
I feel like is the monster now controlling her
That's-
because is this part of this monster in her and it's
Yes.
able to control her as a vessel?
Yes, through influence. I
think so. If you're looking at like the narrative of the film, like I feel like it's really good to split this film into like the narrative and then like the symbolism of shit. But in the narrative, she's definitely. I think this is the supernatural element where this creature is like almost mind controlling her and shit.
I see. I took it as a literal thing. So how I took this, since we've brought it up, we're kind of getting into the end of the film. And I'll spoil a little bit of the end too. But especially with the first characters, like we said, hey, you know, the teacher Helen is basically him trying to replace Anna, right? With you know, someone who's very similar to probably the time when they were in a happier relationship.
Right.
I think the same thing is happening with Anna and this creature.
Yeah.
That's not really a creature. It's just a creature in Sam Neill's mind as he's trying to understand who this person is, who's influencing his wife so much.
Yeah.
To not only take her away from him, but also Heinrich. Or Heinrich, that's a wrestler.
Heinrich.
Sorry. And Heinrich, too. Which, and it's even funny because they kind of even have, I feel like at times they're like, Heinrich has this weird thing where he's like always trying to buddy up. I feel like.
Yeah, he's like again, like he has that irritating, he's like on a higher ethical level. He's the guy that you can't get mad at because he's so like friendly to you all the time.
Because he comes over.
Yeah.
He comes over to the apartment and tries to look for Anna there.
Yeah.
And the worst drunk acting, I got to bring this up, I've ever seen in my fucking life.
Well,
I don't know.
again,
that
I
it
think
was-
this is another
I don't care. Terrible choice.
I think it was
fucking horrible choice.
Just the way that the camera moves to this movie and the way the actors move, it does have a dancey, choreographic
Yeah.
feel to it,
Yeah.
and I think this is another example.
he looks
of
like
that.
a flailing pinball just
He
bouncing
does.
off of every wall, and
He
it
does.
But
was a bad choice.
I will say I'll back Cody up on this. He is like my most the character I liked the least in this film, and his performance I liked the least in this film. Like all the other ones, to your point, like yes, every single interaction in this film comes with like this beautiful camera movement. The camera just is always doing this kind of this
always
this
fluidly panning.
fluid pan, and it's like this half circle kind of pan that's following these characters in this scene. But like with his scene with Heinrich's scenes, it's like the stuff is that he's doing as the performer is just so ridiculous and almost feels like so unnatural for this fucking film that I agree with you. I hated this scene. I thought it was the worst performance I've ever seen. I was like,
it is like the worst scene in this
he's like
movie.
spinning around and shit and
my
running
God.
into stuff. It's just
Yeah.
like it's like okay,
Everything's a
either
spin.
you are like beyond blasted or you're just trying a little hard.
I'm like, no, as I'm watching it too, I'm like, is he on something harder than alcohol? Like,
That's what I was
Because
thinking.
if
I
you're
was
on
like,
alcohol, you're spending that much, bro, you're throwing up. I don't care who you are. Like, you're that.
well, we know he's into harder drugs, so you see it later in the film.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe.
Maybe. Another thing I wanted to bring up too that kind of came out of nowhere, which I was wondering what you guys thought of them too, is the weird film portions of Anna kind of breaking the fourth wall and talking to the audience. I feel somewhat, but the audience is Mark.
Yeah, it's POV of Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it
I loved
because
it.
I feel like I was already totally engaged with her scariness. And when she would lock eyes with me watching the movie, I mean, she just has a look that makes me terrified.
Plus,
So-
I think the director uses it. He uses it so well. It's not overly used.
It's like once or twice.
The one time he used it that even this time it kind of almost like shocked me. Made me jump. Is Anna is telling the story of how she basically miscarried
Yes.
this this energy or force inside of her, and like we cannot miss talking about this scene because it is such a
probably the iconic scene.
the
I think
iconic scene in
so.
this movie, and she goes through this painful, almost looks like she's being possessed in the process, and she's just doing all this. What was the word you used earlier? It was really good.
Undulating?
Yeah. And,
Oh, you don't undulate all that?
and it was scary for me watching because like when there's one part she gets against the wall and she's flinging her head back and you can see that her head bounces off the wall twice and like in the process of acting she reaches back and feels her head that goes back to what she's doing. She clearly like hurt herself in that scene.
These are very long takes too. I mean, like
Yeah.
if
Incredibly
you
long
watch,
It looks so painful.
Yeah. It follows her in, the camera spins around. You know what I was thinking? Where's the lights? Where's the sound guy?
Dude,
Where's the director?
Again, yeah.
Like,
I think
it's-
that scene does have a certain grain to it, and I think that's why, because they were using basically location lights and
So it was literally just the cinematographer and maybe just the actress in there doing that scene. so that they could get that swinging motion with the camera and pan all around.
There's
without
clearly
seeing
no
other
crew
people.
around unless they're all moving in unison behind the camera.
And it's even the
It's
small
impossible.
details of the scene. You know, obviously it starts in the church. She's making these weird moaning
Oh yeah,
noises.
she's having a conversation with the statue of Christ.
She starts moaning. You're like, what the fuck is going on? And then it immediately cuts to the next scene where it seems like she's gonna throw up or something. She smashes that milk against the wall.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was just something that happened when she was doing the scene.
I think yeah.
But it made it more dirty. It made it like
The fucking eggs went against the wall too.
She's rolling around in it, like the angles that they shoot her at. Which, by the way, I read up, and her and the cinematographer actually were together for a long period of time. Like I don't know if they were married, but
okay.
But there was a chemistry, I think, with these two probably, and the way they shot this scene with the way she performed it, I feel like was just so visceral.
Yeah, that's a great word. It's a great way to describe
so
it.
Slimy and greasy and.
Oh, and then even like then you get to the part where she's like having the miscarriage and like there's like white bloody milk shit coming out of her fucking ears. There's like a green pool forming below her.
All these colors.
She's like it's bleeding out of her face and shit. It was like what an intense and hard scene, man.
And the way she emotes that scene when all that ooze is coming out of her, it looks like she's
pushing or something.
She's pushing like she's having a baby.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so believable to me that I was like,
it was an amazing performance. And then like this scene immediately, as soon as the scene immediately just cuts to her staring at the camera. And like at that point I realized I was like, oh yeah, she's still telling a story. Cause I got so sucked out of whatever the hell else was going on when this was happening and this performance happening. Cause I just thought it was so good.
And the lighting is like dim and weird too.
Yeah.
So. Anyway.
It's great. Isabel Adjani is her name, by the way, too. We keep talking about her.
I know. I feel so bad.
Isabella
She's such a
Adjani.
good actress, and we haven't mentioned her name.
Yeah. I mean, she plays two roles in this, too.
She does.
Teacher and the wife.
Yeah.
Which are way different personalities.
Very different. Like, she's a fantastic actress. I think she might be Sam Neill's very good in this as well. But, I mean, she does a fantastic job.
Not saying that she's bad in this movie at all, but when this scene came up, I fucking laughed my ass off. When she threw herself into the fucking wall and splattered the eggs and all that stuff, dude, I was fucking dying. And then after that, I was like, this is going on for way too long. And then I just wanted it to end. And then the oozy stuff, cool stuff happened at the end. But it's so funny. Like I was hearing you guys go off about it, and I'm just like, man, for me, it was just too long, and it was funny at first because it was so over the top and dramatic that it just made me giggle.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sorry, I fucking feel.
No, it's just it's funny to me. Yeah, I thought that was one of the more campy parts of the movie.
That's so interesting.
That is really interesting.
I did not see it as campy.
I thought it was
thoroughly involved in this.
I thought it was like a car, like a train wreck. You're just staring at it, watching it.
At first, I thought it was like, okay, this is really over the top, and then I could see she's acting her ass off, and she's getting very into it, which is cool. But then it just goes on for so long, and you're just like, ugh, can this be over? Like, I'm ready to move on to the next thing.
Yeah, not me. I thought this was just a fucking incredible performance.
Yeah, so what you're saying is maybe like for you when it extends too long, sometimes it just outplays it too fast.
That's kind of the weakest point in this movie for me is the repetitiveness and the pacing.
Mm-hmm.
Like hands down. Again, like for me, this movie is her coming home, fight, her coming home, fight, her coming home, fight. Someone go to the apartment, kill, someone go to the apartment, kill, someone go to the apartment, kill. Like, I don't know. So like it's like almost the same shit kind of over and over again, just in different ways, but it's still repetitive. So that was like, and this was just another example of that where I'm just like, okay, this girl's gonna literally scream for 5 minutes and I'm gonna have to watch it. Awesome.
Well,
I got it that she's acting her ass off and she's killing it the first 3 minutes.
But now,
let's cut those two out.
Now we're at the point where it's like, I feel like it kind of turns into a different movie.
Very much so.
Where, Mark finds out kind of what's going on. Several people have been killed by this monster. It seems to be morphing.
Yeah, it's getting more human.
He's feeding off of the people.
He finds out through Heinrich.
Heinrich, yeah, because Heinrich goes in there. Well, he sees it
apartment.
first, right?
Yeah. He goes there first.
He goes there
it
first to
gets
try to
stabbed.
win her over, and she stabs
Right.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't stab. What she's doing, which is actually really fucking even scarier and creepy.
Oh, she's just picking at him with
She's
the knife.
like picking. At first I thought it was scissors, and she was like cutting his chest hair, but getting skin.
Yeah.
Which that fucked me up. Where I was like, "How is he just standing there?"
Yeah.
If some lady did that to me, dude, no, I wouldn't be. Think about that. Trying to get your chest hairs and just get your skin with scissors. Yeah, it's
no.
terrifying.
That's even worse. That it was a butcher's cleaver, and she's just kind of poking and prodding
and like,
him.
yeah, and he's just taking it because he's Buddhist.
So yeah, well anyway, I think it's more because he's scared shitless, and
No,
you can
he's
see
definitely
it.
scared
He's
shitless.
scared. It's already killed two people before this, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's also killed the private investigator who is a bad shot.
Well, the private investigator
yeah.
is the private investigator also turns out to be have a lover who is also another private investigator.
So the first private investigator that dies, the main one that Mark hires, that's his partner.
He's
Okay.
like- yeah,
And
he
he goes looking for him. He's just like, he didn't come home last night.
Yeah. So I was confused on that because I was like, I thought he shot her and she just took the bullet.
Yeah, I, did
I thought
too
so
at
too.
first.
Because he's so goddamn close, he might as well just throw the gun.
Yeah,
at
but
her.
if you see the
Like,
angle of the gun, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was almost like it.
It's almost like it was like you're not supposed to shoot somebody
Well,
directly. I know.
No,
he
I think
shoots to
he
the side
purposely.
sometimes.
I think he was squeezing off a shot out of like
one-in
frustration.
shot?
It was like it was like the same scene in oh goddamn the Keanu Reeves movie with the surfers, the bank robbers.
Point Break.
Yeah, and he like shoots the air because he can't do
Yeah.
it. It's like he's like that's what I immediately thought of when I saw that scene. He was just like he shot to the side because he was just so full of like sadness and frustration.
hopefully
but he's
they'll
like,
just
I
get
can't,
scared.
He's like, I can't shoot this woman.
I mean, it's possible that he just couldn't kill because she overpowers him.
Well, they seem to
They
almost
got
have
shit out of
like
him.
they seem to have like a really interesting moment too, right before this happens, because she kind of explains she explains kind of why she's there in like I don't know, I can't think of how I want to describe this. She describes it in like a mystery of words, but he seems to pick up on like the fact that she's kind of stuck there and trapped there by this force of evil that's in the apartment, and he immediately understands what it is that she's referring to. And then she leads him into the room that this creature is on the bed, and then he finds his partner in the corner. And then that's when he takes the terrible shot.
Who's the character that loses his sight for a bit when he sees
That's
this?
Heinrich.
Yeah,
What's
that's Heinrich.
that? What is that about? Is that about the possession? Like they're
I
it's
thought it was
possessing his
psychic
mind?
powers.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely thought there was something to do with the fact that like it's the first time you see the creature with its eyes open. I thought it was like maybe he made eye contact with it, and it now has been manifesting some sort of power
Over
over
him.
people, and I think it blinds him for a brief second.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I took it.
Yeah.
Either that or, it's just the utter shock and fear of seeing a gelatinous blob that has life in it, and it's almost like he almost like out of psychosis, he goes blind for a minute.
Right.
And then his eyesight's finally come back only to reveal the former people that have been killed in that apartment chopped up and placed neatly in tins in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Sometimes you get hungry. You need a
Gotta
snack.
feed the beast.
Yeah, maybe he wants a foot tonight. I don't know.
Beastio cereal. This episode is brought to you by Beastios.
Yeah, made out of human parts.
So he does escape. He managed to escape, and immediately he calls Mark because I guess he feels like it's the only person.
Well, then you gotta call up your bros.
Yeah, but I mean they're not friends, right?
I
But
feel like they are.
I think he
asserts
recognizes
himself.
that he loves Anna as well. So this might be the only person that might believe him and
Understands
try to
his
save
pain.
her.
Yeah, right.
Mark takes this as an opportunity to fuck with this guy. Like he is won. Like I don't know if he reads this as, oh, he's only mad because she left him and he's panicking.
Right.
Or if he really kind of understands, I don't care how crazy she is, but like it's clearly not working out. So this is my opportunity to jump in. I don't know.
I took it as I've always what I took it as is this monster is it's the other guy. It's the one that is like the real shit, the one that's gonna that's going to take Anna away from both of these people, and they both realize it. And it's kind of like I feel like he realizes first, and when he calls Matt, it's that same thing. Like, dude, now I understand what you're going through. This guy is doing the same thing to me that I did to you.
Right.
Come help me out. And he's like, oh yeah, dude, I'm gonna come help you out. and laugh at your fucking face because it's happening
Yeah,
to you
he's
now.
more than laughing in his face. He kills him.
Yeah, it fucking kills him.
Yeah, I know that. Well, I mean, that's just. I feel like that's part of the movie, but I feel like I'm saying this the symbolic.
Yeah.
That's his.
I mean, there's definitely you can
Yes.
definitely tell by his face. You can tell by his interactions with him that he has ulterior motives even showing up.
Yeah.
and it has
Well,
nothing to do with
at this
fucking
point-
Anna.
At this point, Sam
think it
Neill's
has
got
everything.
the upper hand because now Heinrich is broken down. He's not the one that's like capable of beating
Yeah,
Sam
he's got him in a
Neill.
weak moment.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he takes a fucking advantage
Yes.
of that.
Also, and I will take the killing him a little step further too. That's getting him out of the way on his redemption or his road back to getting back together with Anna.
Right.
Sure,
That's that would say that would be the representation of that.
He doesn't believe him at all that, like, hey, Anna's in trouble. Like, he's not even looking, like, he's seeing this.
I think he knows though at this point because
Yeah, he
Anna's
did-
already
yeah.
told him the
Yeah.
miscarriage story and all this shit. So I think
and he believes her that there's a monster that is possessed.
Yeah.
Like he's,
Absolutely.
yeah. Because they.
but I don't know. It's
And
just,
isn't it after the story that
He's
he hears this
accepting the
that
monster.
he tells
Which-
Heinrich the address? He's like, yeah, go to the
which
address.
he has.
Yeah.
He has this
I
really.
think from the get go he's trying to get Heinrich killed.
He has this really good. He has this really good speech in the movie. Sam Neill does. Mark has this real where he's trying like. It's where she comes in and she's doing the laundry and her fucking hands are shaking and she's doing all that shit and he's like trying to explain to her like, hey, I see your point of view now. Like, I'm ready to move on and like, it's okay if we do. And she kind of doesn't let him. And I think that's kind of the story of this movie is where it's like. And he says, "Well, I understand it. There's you when you're there, you miss being here, and when you're here, you miss being there."
yeah,
And I think that's kind of like what this whole fucking movie is.
it's that realization of
Yes.
the longing for something you
Because-
don't have.
It's like
Yeah.
you have 1 foot in, 1 foot out the door, and you're just like you can't decide. You ultimately really can't decide which way you want to go.
yeah.
all right.
And that's like the battle of this film, and what her. I think ultimately,
I think
what
that's
her choice.
her battle for sure. in this
Yeah,
one.
I don't know if it's his.
I
It's
think
not
it's,
his.
No, it's what her battle is, and it was what her choice is. I think what happens at the end is how he sees it.
Yeah,
well, let's get to that.
Mhm.
No, should we get just right to
Let's
it?
just
There's
get
quite a
right
few
to
things
it,
going
man.
on
Yeah.
here.
And this is the part where he like goes back and he witnesses seeing his wife like having sex with this weird tentacle creature.
yeah, and they have a weird moment.
Like he's kind of cool with it.
She's like, not yet. Is that what she says?
She
to him?
says almost.
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 And I feel like she's not saying that to him. She's saying that because she's about to fucking come, dude, and she's just looking him in
That-
the face. And saying,
No, I
No.
actually didn't see that at all.
That's
this
the
is
way
what
I
I
took it.
think.
No way.
I think. So yeah, no. The way I took it was that she was saying that like I felt like that every single man that was coming in here and getting murdered was being absorbed in some way and like forming this creature, like it was taking on his traits. It's all that because it's all men. She
Right.
never brings a woman up there.
Right.
I think that she's having sex with this thing and she's saying almost like you're almost
You're almost
complete.
perfect.
You're almost
almost
perfect.
perfect. You're missing
Yeah.
something, but you're gonna be there.
Yeah, and like Sam Neill, like almost acknowledges like he understands
Yeah.
that. That's how I took that scene,
Right.
For sure.
So do you think that's him acknowledging that?
She's almost ready to fully move on and let go of him.
I don't know because again when we get into the doppelganger, it's so weird that he is basically projecting that the man that she found or that she's going to be with is him, like is exactly like
Yeah,
him.
but that doesn't have anything to do with her actions. That's
how
his
he-
psychosis.
that's how he sees it.
Right. But that doesn't take away from the
So
fact that
he's
she's in her world, she's creating the perfect version, which very well could look just like him.
But I'm saying, what I'm saying is she's essentially replacing, like he's the way he's viewing it is you're replacing me. That's what I'm saying. The death scene at the end is like you're replacing me with me. And what I take is when they die on each other, that's their relationship, their actual relationship being done and over and actually fucking
Yeah.
done. And even to the point to where I feel like her shooting herself in the back was also saying that she killed it.
So I have a totally different interpretation.
Yeah.
First, I want to explain how we get here.
Okay.
So yeah, Sam Neill sees this and then he tries to escape, and the same people that he had the meeting with at the beginning,
his employers.
the employers are like out to like go kill him, right? So they start chasing him down. They start exchanging shots against one another. Sam Neill gets shot at one point in time. He takes out a few of his guys. Tries to go back to like his apartment where the teacher is taking care of Bob. Halfway up there, he basically turns around and he sees Anna, and she's with what we presumably understand is the creature, but it's of Sam Neill's form. It's Mark's form, except with really dark black eyes.
It's complete.
Green.
Ooh, no, he has
They're
black, dark, like
yeah, they're black eyes.
black as
Dude,
black as soot.
I saw him.
Really?
Yeah. When I watched him, they were green because they matched. Both doppelgangers had green eyes.
I don't know if I agree with you.
I thought he had dark eyes. I'm
I'm
pretty
pretty
sure he had
sure
dark eyes.
Black.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100%, but
anyways,
I'm sure.
Keep going.
Anyways, so obviously you get the impression right off the bat. Obviously, this must be this creature, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I took from it. I'm interested that you saw it as he tried to she created the perfect man, and it just so happened to look just like him. So I thought that the first time I saw it. Second time I saw it, I had a different interpretation. I kind of saw this as, because I was taking this film more in the idea of like kind of what we were talking about, how maybe a lot of this is going on in his head. Like maybe these are just projections of things he's feeling. And I kind of saw it as that if this creature is possessing Anna to do all these crazy murderous things, that he sees this creature as himself because he realizes that he pushed her away. Like that he's coming to the ultimate conclusion of like, yeah, this marriage failed because I was a part of this. This whole time I've been trying to find justification that I've been right the whole time and that she's just this horrible person. But in reality, like I pushed her away. And if I'm seeing the catalyst for that as myself for the first time. That's how I took it for the second time. And I was like, huh, okay, all right. And maybe the best version of her was the girl that was the teacher, who might not look anything like his wife.
Right.
She's just a better version of what he's looking for.
Mm-hmm.
That's not his wife.
It doesn't. She doesn't actually look like that.
What do you
That's
mean?
what you're saying.
Yeah. Like maybe it's possible that her
This is
lover,
going back to, like,
who was
the-
there, who is this monster that he's portrayed in his mind, actually doesn't really. He might be a real person.
I don't think he's a
So
monster.
we're
Yeah, no,
going-
I don't think
we're
he's a
going-
monster at all.
We're going back to the idea that not everything we see in this movie is completely accurate.
Yeah,
literal.
that
It
maybe
could be
it's
some
more
of his
symbolic,
like his
literal
psychosis
fears
is
and his understanding.
projecting.
Yeah.
I
You know,
gotcha.
100% that's what I think that is. And like I said, I think that's where I get the representation of, like, I think he sees it as he's being replaced by someone who's exactly like him. And I almost even take it towards the end, even the further end, the double end.
Well, I was just about to bring this up because I think it gets even weirder.
Yeah, with
Yeah,
this
then it gets
film?
really weird.
Well, because the way I interpreted that was the fact that the two
What?
of his son fucking throwing himself in the goddamn
Well, we gotta
tub.
get to that part first.
We have to tell.
Yeah.
What are we?
Yeah.
So after the wife,
After the shootout in the hallway and
Yeah.
basically Sam Neill and Anna are dead, this doppelganger of Mark
Escapes.
leaves. He convinces a stranger to shoot
He
to basically
hypnotizes her.
to like give him covering fire,
Which
while
I-
he
I-
is-
Boost him up.
I would like to might add that also like kind of gave me like a weird. There was one
I thought it was
weird
the
moment where
Antichrist moment.
yeah, like that maybe this was more literal than I thought.
Yeah,
Like maybe it is a devil because that's something the devil can do.
Yeah.
They can just convince you to do weird shit.
right.
Right.
So then I was like, okay,
But then
Yeah.
it doubles down on that shit
uh-huh.
when we get to the end. But yeah, basically we cut back to the teacher's apartment, and there's a knock at the door, and we can see in the silhouette it's this Mark doppelganger.
Yes.
And then yes, the son,
Says, don't open the door.
don't open it. He's screaming it,
And then he runs and he jumps in the tub and kills himself.
jumps in a tub and drowns himself. And then the teacher's like walks up to the door to answer it, and then like fucking chaos outside ensues. Like a fucking war breaks out, and all we hear is the sound effects and the lights and the explosions and all this shit. And then it's just like a close-up shot of the teacher's face.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that is the part where it's like, I feel like the director, if anything, he was just trying to throw off the scent of the actual underlying story and be like, no, this is actually like about the Antichrist being born through this terrible relationship or something, because it ends with the world ending essentially.
Yeah. So what I took that as is this is actually the one part of the movie where we get the effects of this whole thing on Bob.
Well, the killing part, yeah, absolutely.
No, like the
No, I see. I know
like,
exactly what you're saying.
No, like the
No, I see. I know exactly what you're
the
saying.
whole thing, like his whole world is destroyed. Basically his dad comes home, his mom won't let him in, or he doesn't want him in either because he's also afraid of him. He's been gone for a year. He may not know him that well. And like when they do get together, just bombs and the fucking war breaks out, and he runs and hides the best place that he knows how.
See, yeah, I saw this more as symbolic of so now that we've established that, like, okay, this relationship got ruined, this relationship is over, obviously they're both lying dead on a staircase, and this evil version of Mark is running around the world. I kind of took it as like oh, hey, kind of what you're saying, like, hey, did you forget about Bob?
Yeah.
Like, now that these parents, jealousy and hatred and all this shit, this volatile scenario that they were in has crumbled, the real victim is this kid.
Right.
Like, we forgot about him because we haven't seen him for a good hour almost in this fucking film almost. But like, yeah. And I think he drowns himself in the tub to kind of establish that the whole world, his whole world essentially is being destroyed. Yeah. Because it's all he had.
I
and
like
these
that.
parents' spite got the better of them.
That's exactly how I took it.
That's good because I just kind of thought this is some surreal shit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure it means something, but at this point, it's like, it's like going totally crazy in the house.
Well, because you got to think about it too. Like for the first half of the movie, like when all these fights are going on, you don't see him, but he's there.
He's somewhere in the room.
Bob's somewhere in that fucking tiny ass apartment, like not very big.
And all of these arguments are very intense.
Yes, and they're all in front of him, and that's what I mean. Like, so at the end, that's what I saw. That's what I saw. The end of this film. At first, I was like, well, maybe that's some like. I also wonder if it's some representation of the doppelgangers. Is the representation of the new them after the divorce?
Could be.
But then I was like, well, that really. Then the director's really then doubling down, saying he's really a piece of shit. Like, because you get the fear that comes with him just at the fucking door.
Well, you're assuming also that if you're saying the director is personifying himself into Mark,
like the evil Mark, like whatever the evil Mark is at the end. Like that's what I mean. Like, because it almost feels like the other two are dead, but there's these replacement parents that their images don't change of who they are.
Yeah, but I mean, their physicality definitely does. You definitely get the impression that Mark is evil, and the teacher is good,
which
is how
dad is evil. Mom, like that's what, like that was where I was like, kind of getting convoluted. Where I was like, am I reading too far into that kind of aspect of it?
I don't think you're too far. I don't think you're off. I think it's an interpretation.
Yeah,
I didn't get that, but I can see it when you explain it that way.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Man. I think it's about that time.
I do think it's about that time.
Oh, it's gotta be.
That we rate this Mammer Jammer. What was the what?
What did you say?
Whatever. What did you say?
Oh yeah, that word.
Jaunties?
Yeah.
Undulates.
Undulations.
How many undulations are really?
You guys like the word undulate, so we're gonna rate this undulations.
Yeah.
Did our fan rate this?
Yeah. So didn't pick a symbol for us, but gave it a 5. 5 out of 5 undulates.
5 undulations.
5 undulations.
All
From
right.
Drew Abbott. Thank you, Drew.
Thank you, Drew. All right, 5 undulations. So let's go with Chris.
Felt it. I felt it coming this way, man.
When you're quiet for the last half of the fucking show, that's what you get.
Look, this movie has so much in it. I actually don't feel like we covered it all. And that's okay. Like, there's just a lot to be discovered. I feel like I agree that there's some repetitiveness to it, like Cody called out. And there's a point in this movie where I feel like it could end and I would be fine with that. And that was just right about after he blew up the apartment. I wish they kind of wrapped it up a little bit quicker right after that. But instead, I feel like you got another 30 to 40 minutes of story. So there's pacing issues with this movie. However, I really, really like this movie. This is my second time seeing it. And upon a second watch, I really appreciated it for the artistic merit that's going here. I do understand that this is probably coming from a place of anger when it comes to telling the story. But damn, do they film some intense scenes. They got some great actors to play this off. I'm always a fan of the Lovecraftian, like tentacle monster character, especially in a really odd location, which is West Berlin, in like this very cold, like dim background set against, with the Berlin Wall in the background. It's just unlike anything that I've really ever seen. Like, it did give me a Brood vibe, which, I'm a fan of that movie. So overall, this movie, like, I could watch it again and probably discover more with it. I'm going to give it a 5. I think the 5 undulations, this movie is definitely, I think, one of those kind of horror movies I really love. I don't think it's completely a horror film, which makes it even scarier. They really mix in the drama and, even down to the costuming and the cinematography, like we said, we've been praising it. It really does stand out amongst a lot of other films out there. So 5 undulations for me. Highly recommended, at least one watch.
5 from Chris. I'll go next. Pacing issues. I do have a hard time with the pace of this movie. 2 hours is this a long 2 hours. It's a long 2 hours, and because of the repetitiveness, it does make it a little bit harder to watch. And because what happens is you're like, I kind of seen this, and you look away. At least I did. Over the top acting, but I believe that was by choice, but very well done. Very, very well done. Isabella, I'm sorry, how do you say her last name?
Johnny.
Probably one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life, by the way. I don't think I did mention that. She has such a great look on film. She is fantastic in this movie. I think she won Best Actress at Cannes for this.
Yes.
Which is well deserved.
She's been nominated for Oscars as well.
Yeah, well deserved. Honestly, well deserved. I honestly believe that. My hard times that I also have with this movie is mostly starts with Mark's character. He's really hard for me to respect, or anything else, which always makes it hard for me to enjoy a movie. This isn't my cup of tea. This is not something that I'm going to sit down and want to rewatch over and over again. Honestly, it's kind of depressing. It's kind of boring, and the horror elements that are in it, I'm sorry, they're not shocking enough for me. They're pretty. It's pretty fucking lame, dude. When you're like waiting for it, because here's the thing, man. Watching this movie, I was like 48 minutes in to get to the first kill. That tells you that I'm literally watching the time at this point because I'm like, when are we getting into it? When are we getting into it? And then when we get into it, it's kind of a letdown.
Was your assumption that it was a horror film right off the bat?
Just from how they play it off.
Okay.
Yeah, just from how they play it off. And then you're expecting something big from the supernatural elements, right? Because this is a cult film. There's got to be something huge with it. And then you just get like a sloppy tentacle sex scene, and you're like, okay. Like, that is what it is. I've never really seen anything like that before, but I've seen way sicker shit in like Society and other movies. I don't know. So that for me wasn't enough either. I'm going to come in. When we started this conversation, I was at a 2.5. I'll come in at a 3 just because this conversation did boost it up a lot. But yeah, that's where I'm at. I put it at 3. Technically, this movie's the shit. Cinematography is beautiful. The one thing I will also knock on it too is we didn't talk about it. The music is really, really forgettable, and not a great score. But yeah,
I don't know.
Disagree on that
I don't
one.
know about that
that's
one.
me.
It's all mood music. I like it.
I'm not
Anyways,
for that.
sorry.
Yeah. But no, that's me. I'm at 3. I'm at 3. You guys brought me up half.
I feel like we could have tried harder next time, guys.
Let's go with Mike.
So when I first saw this film, I was mesmerized by it, thought about it for days. Although oddly enough, even though I was like, oh yeah, let's choose this fan pick. Like afterwards, I kind of had this one irking feeling like, ooh, maybe this is a one watcher. Like, what if like I already got everything. Like, do I really want to go through all this emotion again? Literally 5 minutes into it, immediately I was like, yes, absolutely. Like, let's do this. I'm ready for the ride. And I got new things out of it, which is always a great thing. It still got me thinking about what this film. This whole conversation was fantastic, I thought. I'm gonna give this a 5. I think this is a brilliant film. I love a film that I get something new out of every time. Acting is just as good as I remember, and it left me with different emotions, but the same feeling, even though I had seen it already.
Kyle?
Yeah, I'm gonna come in at a 5 as well. I love these kind of these. I don't feel comfortable calling it a horror movie per se, but I do love these kind of horror movies. The more character, psychological type shit really resonates with me. I feel like what we're watching on this film is something that's just so raw and visceral of really a director's putting all of his emotions out there that it's hard for me to take to sit back and like be super critical of a lot of stuff, because then that means I'm being critical of this guy's experiences. And I think he does a wonderful job conveying those feelings of deception and sadness and whatever the hell he went through. Like, watching this movie and watching these characters' actions feel almost too fucking authentic. And I think that's a mark of great filmmaking. Like, we touched on it a lot in the show, but fucking hell, gotta say it again, cinematography is on point. Holy crap. This is a movie that if you're into cinematography, you want to get into it, you should check this out, because the way that the camera is so fluidly moving in just about every single scene. Like, I don't think it ever stands still, but it's never handheld. It's these fluid panning shots throughout the whole thing, which I thought was just gorgeous. And this second time watch through, I really, really drilled in on it. I don't know what else to say about it. I think you should definitely go check it out. It can be a little bit of a slow burn, but it's a movie that you can watch multiple times and continue to pull something new out of it. Like, this conversation was way more enlightening than what I thought about it the first time I watched it. First time I was just kind of mesmerized by the chaos that I witnessed, and now I'm like, this conversation, I'm like seeing deeper levels and shit. So 5 from me. Definitely go check this movie out.
Yeah, I will say, after I watched this too, just to do a little final thing here, I was definitely
the music was great.
I was definitely like, oh, this is like a precursor to an A24 film. Like,
it would fit into their model of,
it really
what
would.
kind of horror films they're releasing. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
those are kind I like.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're fans of Possession. Over there.
Honestly, when I watched this, I got like, I was like, I could see elements that they took from this that are maybe in like something like Hereditary.
Yeah, you should check out Antichrist if you haven't watched it yet.
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh,
I haven't seen it.
Fucking
the other
intense
film,
movie.
the other film that I hear a lot of people compare this to is Repulsion.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that is our show for this week. But before we go, we do have a review to read.
Yes, we do. We got a review here from Baylor James. Title review says, "It takes me back." 5-star review. And James goes on to say, "I love this podcast. I discovered it when I was listening to a podcast about the movie The Warriors. I stumbled upon this podcast, and they had done almost every movie I'd grown up watching. Definitely recommended for those who grew up in the 90s watching classics like Tremors, Space Invaders, and Arachnophobia."
Baylor James.
He likes the 90s films, maybe like Congo also.
You know what? He didn't include Congo.
Yeah, but he said 90s, so he probably meant Congo. Who was the guy who recommended Possession?
He liked Congo.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
He loved it.
He purposely shit on Congo.
He purposely shit on Congo.
I know. I'm just kidding.
When he should really be like a James Baylor, is what I was going to say.
Oh, Drew.
Yeah, Drew. Hope you're listening. Hope you stuck around this long.
Yeah, dude. 2-hour long podcast. What's up?
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, James, thank you so much for the review. We really do appreciate that, guys. Please leave us a review on iTunes. It really helps us climb those charts. And we want to keep on climbing. 4 years in, we got to get over 5 listeners, guys. Help us out here.
I'm hoping for 6 tomorrow.
Well, dude, it's 4 years in. We got 1 more year to get above 6.
I'm really pulling for it. Otherwise, we're going to have to pull the plug on this show. So get in those reviews. Then head over to cultfilmandreview.com. Put in your request for films for us to review like Drew did.
Thank you, Drew.
Yeah, thank you, Drew.
Yeah.
I really do, Drew. I was giving you a hard time this whole episode. Hopefully you are still listening, because I'm sorry. Okay? I hope we can be friends.
Yeah, that's the important part, is that he's sorry.
That I'm sorry and that we can be friends.
Maybe I'll put a disclaimer in the show description.
Yeah,
By the way,
please read
Cody's sorry, Drew.
Yeah. If you don't listen to the end, he's sorry.
It's okay if you don't like
really
Congo.
sorry.
It's okay if you don't like Congo.
Don't get hurt.
And then when you're done with that, make sure you follow us on social media. You can check out our YouTube page. You can head over to Instagram, follow us at Cult Film in Review. You can follow us on Twitter at cultfilm_review. We also have a Facebook page. You can check that out. You can follow Kyle at.
You can follow me on Instagram at cultfilm_Kyle.
You can follow Jan McGee at.
That's the loudest fucking yawn. Jesus.
Sorry, it just took over my body, dude. Like I was possessed.
You were possessed?
I was possessed.
You can follow Chris at.
Cultfilm_Chris on Instagram.
You can follow Mike
At Mike Salustio on Twitter.
You can follow me at
VHS
Collect on Snapchat and Instagram. That's our show for this week. Remember, if you're going to join a cult, just make sure they watch good movies. We'll see you next time.